Om Sarvadharmasthapagastam Sarvadharmaswarupakah Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. We have been studying Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master, as the spiritual teacher, second part, and we are in the third chapter, and we have to read para 14 now. Let us go back to para 13, because this 14 is connected with that. The extraordinarily, we are going back into the previous para. Well, let us take it from the beginning, then there is no confusion. Many a time we were told by the Master, the embodiment of all spiritual modes, that is, journeys to the holy places were undertaken with special mental attitudes. He used to say, I thought I would find everyone in Kashi merged in Samadhi, in the meditation of Shiva all the 24 hours. And all in Vrindavan, beside themselves with devotion and divine love in the company of Govinda. That means the different approaches or different attitudes, taking that one has to go there. But when I was there, I found everything quite the reverse. The extraordinary simple mind of the Master, from here we are connected. The extraordinarily simple mind of the Master used to accept and believe everything like a 5-year-old boy. We have learned to view all persons and things with a suspicious eye from our childhood. How can that kind of simple faith arise in our crooked minds? We look upon a man as a foolish, half-witted person when we see him believing anything straight away. It was from the Master that we heard for the first time, my children, people become simple-minded and liberal as the result of many austerities and sadhana. If one is not simple-minded, one cannot realize God. Why is this connection, do you know? Simple-mindedness and realizing God. You must know that. You see, God is one without a second. So where is the chance of crookedness? And if our mind is crooked, how can that appreciate the one without a second? You see, there is a subject dealing with objects. Then only the chance of crookedness is coming. When there is one, there is no chance of crookedness. From other side, God is said to be the most simple thing. How? If there are two things, then they will combine. God is homogeneous, all-pervading and homogeneous. So there is no chance of any crookedness there. So unless the mind is simple, you cannot catch God at all. Now many people in the name of practicality become so crooked, they cannot catch God. And that is what Thakur is telling here. If one is not simple-minded, one cannot realize God. It is to these men of simple faith that he manifests his real nature. Simplicity is connected with faith, simple faith. Now, argumentativeness, extra use of logic, they go against God. Shankar criticized Tarkika. Again, now the opposite side. Again, lest anyone should think that one must be a simpleton to have sincere faith. He said, understand the difference, simple and simpleton. A simpleton is foolish. He does not understand things. A simple person will understand everything, but he will go straight. Crookedness comes for shortcut, selfishness. Otherwise, what is the scope of crookedness? Again, lest anyone should think that one must be a simpleton to have sincere faith. He said, you should become a devotee, but why should you be foolish on that account? Always, continued he, discriminate in your mind between what is real and what is unreal. That is Thakur's eternal advice to sannyasis, grahasthas, everybody. What? Always discriminate in your mind between what is real and what is unreal. Now, how to understand real and unreal? No. Thakur is telling, and what is eternal and what is transitory. If you see something is changing, it cannot be real. And if you see something is unchanging, that is real. Real will never change. Gita, 2nd chapter, 16 shlok. Na sato vidyate bhava, na bhava vidyate sata. So the real will always remain constant in nature. And the unreal will go on changing. If a thing goes on changing, how it can be real? So, this is the way to understand real and unreal. We can, by analysis, we can find what is eternal and what is transitory. And then give up what is transitory and fix your mind on the thing eternal. Now here, Thakur has made two provisions. This is in the first dialogue of Master Maheshwari Thakur in Kathamri. And there is telling Master Maheshwari, growing with children, that you must constantly do. And there he says, you have to give up mentally that which is unreal. Sannyasis will give up externally. That much difference only is allowed. And then give up what is transitory and fix your mind on the thing eternal. Now we come to para 14. The master's instruction to Swami Yogananda. You should be a devotee, but why should you be foolish on that account? Unable to harmonize these two statements, we are not able to understand. In trying to become simple, we become simpleton. Many of us got scolded by him now and again. Many of us, example is giving one. But many of us got scolded by him now and again. So many number of times many people made the mistake and they have to be scolded. Example is giving only one. Not that only Swami Yogananda did like that. Swami Yogananda had not then renounced the world. That means he was still in the house. He required an iron pan for his house. Iron pan, they could have added frying pan. Koda. Koda, you know, in Bengali. What is in your language? In Hindi and Marathi, Hindi kadhai, Marathi kadai, kadha, for the house, and went to Bada Bazar to buy one. He reminded the shop, Bada Bazar is Bada Bazar, the main marketing area in Calcutta in those days, to buy one. He reminded the shopkeeper of the evil consequences of irreligiousness and said, look here, take the just price and give me a good thing. See that it has no cracks or holes. Shopkeeper immediately understood that this man is not going to check. The shopkeeper in his turn said, rest assured, sir, I will of course do that. And chose for him a pen and gave it to him. This little, slightly detailed in Bengali. Huh? You see, દુકાનીઓ આગે મશાયતા દેવો કે કોઈ કે ઇત્યાદि નાના કોતા કોઈયા બાછિયા બાછિયા તાકે કને કોડા દીધો બાછિયા બાછિયા. You understand બાછિયા બાછિયા? That means this kadai saw, another kadai saw, another kadai saw, and then he gave him birth. What did he do? He found which is broken and gave to him. Because they understood this man is not going to check. He believed in the words of the shopkeeper. So that force has not come in this and chose for him a pan. He tasted many pans and gave one to him, like that we would say. But when he came to he believed in the words of the shopkeeper and brought it without examining it. But when he came to Dakshineshwar, he found that it was cracked. When the master heard of this, he said, Dakshineshwar means not in the temple, his house was in Dakshineshwar. When the master heard of this, he said, how is that? You have brought the article, but why did you not examine it? The shopkeeper was there to conduct his business, not to practice religion. So the mentality of the person with whom you are dealing has to be understood first of all. This is not against simpleness. There is no crookedness in this. Why did you believe in and get deceived? You should no doubt be a devotee, but should you be foolish on that account? Should you be deceived by people? First examine whether the right thing has been given and then give the shopkeeper the price. First examine whether right thing has been given. Then pay him the price. See that the article does not weigh less than it should before you receive it. Again, there are some articles for which it is customary for the sellers to give a little more than the quantity stipulated. In Bengal, it is called POW. These days, the system of POW has gone. Never neglect to take that extra quantity also. I will give an example of POW. When you go to purchase vegetables, you purchase whatever you have decided. Then a little this coriander leaves and one or two green chilies, they will give you. No separate price for that. That is how. And when you go to purchase mangoes or grains, they will weigh and give, and then a little more, like that. That is how. Many such examples can be given, but this is not the place for them. Because the question was simple, and simple should not be mixed with simpleton, so this topic has come. Let us here mention only the master's extraordinary exercise of shrewdness. Shrewdness may not be a very good word for that. Shrewdness. विचारशीलता, ಅದೃಷ್ಟಪೂರ್ವ ಸರಳತಾರ ಸಹಿತ अद्भुत विचारशीलतार कथाटेर उल्लेख मात्र करे पूर्व अनुसरण करी. How do you translate? Shrewd. No, vicharashilata we can straight away translate as thoughtfulness. Vicharashilata, thoughtfulness. Which coexisted with his wonderful simplicity and resume our previous topic. I'll tell you an example. Our one Swami Akamananda, he used to say that, he used to believe and say that he is very intelligent. He will not be fooled. One day a man came to him. He was sitting in the veranda. A man came to him and said, my mother has expired. Will you give me 500 rupees? I don't have money enough for cremation. Now his heart melted. But he went to our Maharaj and asked him, such and such a man has come, such and such thing he told. So shall I give him 500 rupees? What Maharaj told him? How can he finish cremation in 500 rupees? So better take 1500 rupees with you and go with him and get the cremation done. See? Then Akamanji took 1500 rupees and went with him. In between the road he escaped. So, the chain of thought is like that. 500 rupees is not enough for cremation. Rather, that man is asking 500 rupees. It may not be cremation at all. So you go and do the cremation. Then the man ran away. So that is thoughtfulness. Seeing the worldly attachment of the inhabitants of Kashi, The master complained, why hast thou brought me here, mother? Every sentence there is so much deep meaning. He is not blaming Mathur for that. Everything happened by the will of the mother. So he is telling, mother, why you have brought me here? I see Thakur's every breath is different than ours. Mathur spent, we were told by the master, more than 1,00,000 of rupees in those days on the occasion of traveling to holy places. Now it will come into many crores. As soon as he came to Kashi, he gave cooked food away to Brahmin Pandits. Afterwards, one day, he invited them together with their families, fed them their fill, and gave each one of them as farewell present a piece of cloth and a rupee. 1 rupee was very, very much in those days. Again, when he came back to that place after visiting Vrindavan, he played one day the part of the wish-fulfilling tree at the injunction of the master and gave to everybody whatever necessary articles he asked for. Metal pots, cloth, blankets, sandals, etc. Sandals? Paduka, Paduka. We could have said sandals are a particular type of paduka. We could have said footwear. When the master saw quarrels, tumults, and even fighting among the Brahmins, on the very first day on which cooked food was distributed, he was extremely annoyed. That is Brahmins. Huh? Among sannyasis, of course, many of them fake sannyasis. In Kshatriyas, anybody who puts on a Gerua will get Bhiksha. Now, sometimes there is Bandara in the Chhatra. That means some laddus or something may be given in addition. I have seen by my own eyes people hitting each other with bamboos just to be first in the line. Sadhu Veshadhari, quarreling, hitting each other. He was extremely annoyed. He was seized with despair when he saw people attached to lust and gold in Varanasi, as well as in other places. As well as in other places. Everywhere I am getting just stuck up. वाराणसी ते वो इतर साधारण के अपर सकल स्थाने न्याय ए रूपे काम कांचन ने रथ ताकिते देखिया. I will tell you, the correct translation. As in other places, not as well as. He was seized with despair when he saw people attached to lust and gold, even in Varanasi, as in other places. That means other places they are attached to lust and gold, we know. In Varanasi, we expect people will be devotees or jnanis. So there also he saw the same thing, as well as I missed the point. As I will add a word, even. Even in Varanasi, as in other places, dissolved in tears, he said to the Divine Mother, "Why have you brought me here, Mother? I was happier at Dakshineshwar." So Thakur has gone to pilgrimage, he is judging the mood of the people everywhere. The master's vision of golden Kashi, the other side. Although the master was thus pained to see worldly attachment even among the people living in holy places, this has come nicely, even. He had extraordinary vision and other experiences there and was firmly convinced of the glory of Shiva and the greatness of Kashi. From the time when he entered Varanasi by boat, the master saw with his spiritual eye that the city of Shiva was actually made of gold. There was actually nothing made of earth and stone there. It was indeed the manifestation in the present of the invaluable golden mass of spiritual emotion of the hearts of holy devotees. Made of gold means those who are going there have the spiritual bhav in them. That is gold, shining like gold. And that has made it, not bricks and clay. Deposited stratum after stratum, all layers of bhav only, and solidified through ages, so to speak. So to speak means figurative. Into this city, that effulgent form, the embodiment of spiritual emotion, is its eternal nature. And what is seen outside is shadow only. So in Maya, it becomes like that. The reality is like that. Why Kashi is analyzing and telling us. It does not take the king of the praise the golden Varanasi. With the help of our gross vision too, who will not admit that from very ancient times, all the parts of India combine to pour out incessant showers of gold to construct that wonderful city of Shiva. You understand this? All the wealth which people had, they used to spend most of it in constructing temples. Ananta Padmanabhan temple, many walls are not yet opened. And what is opened is much more wealth than a kingdom. Tirupati Balaji is comparatively modern and their wealth has come now. But the Rajas and everybody has given to Tirunelveli. We will not admit that from very ancient times, all the parts of India. Here one more thing is coming in context with the modern thought. Some fools are telling, political fools, that India was not a nation until British made a nation. A nation is not made of one kingdom. Kashi is in one place, right? And all India is contributing to its glory, all India. That is the nation. You know, in Rameshwaram, there are 4 priest families. One is from Kashi or North India, 2 are from Maharashtra, and 1 is from Tamil Nadu. And what was the highest virtue in those days? Take Ganges water from Kashi and do Abhishek to Shiva in Rameshwaram. and if possible, take sand from the seashore and bring it back to Varanasi. And people used to do on foot. When he sees in Kashi innumerable temples and big buildings more than 2 miles on the bank of the Ganga, paved with stone, numberless bathing ghats with wide flights of steps, countless metal roads. Metal roads, you understand? Metal is not metal, huh? What you call this gitti, the small stone pieces. That is called metal road. Bedecked with gates. On the road there are gates. Innumerable aqueducts. Aqueducts is water places. Paya Pranali, water system. Oblong or circular reservoirs of water, such as ponds, wells, etc. Monasteries, garden houses, and above all, many a place where there is the free distribution of food for the maintenance of Brahmin students. Sadhus and the poor, maintenance of Brahmin students, sadhus and poor. Brahmin only used to study, and Brahmin are not owners of money. So people take care of them. Who will not feel astounded to think that the heartfelt devotion of about 300 million people of India, population of India in those days, has contributed for such a long time uniformly to bring about that external manifestation of the beautiful city. Who will not be charmed to see the irresistible force of this mighty current of spiritual feeling, and will not lose himself in an attempt to discover its origin. Now, Thakur Singh Sardan Swami just told. Sardan Swami's own thing he is telling now. And will not be wonderstruck and say with its head bent and heart melting with devotion, this indeed is an incomparable creation. It is surely not man-made. It has actually been brought into existence by the infinite compassion of the Divine Lord, the refuge of the humble and the deliverer of the afflicted. Shiva himself has built that city. And Shakti herself, in the form of Annapurna, is forever presiding here to nourish both the bodies of the jivas, their gross bodies, formed by the assimilation of food, and the vital force by the free distribution of food to them, body and vital force, and their subtle bodies, consisting of mind, intellect, and bliss. So, two parts he has made: gross body, body, and vital force. Subtle body, mind, intellect, and bliss. Bliss inside, because they are thinking of God. Anandarishari. By fully charging them with the power of spirituality, quickly bringing liberation to them. In other words, giving them the knowledge of their oneness with the Divine Lord of the universe. It is therefore no wonder that as soon as the Master, ever abiding in Bhavamukha, came here, he saw that celestial golden current of spiritual emotions pervading the city of Shiva, and realized as golden that city the solidified manifestations to speak of that color. So Thakur saw golden city, the meaning is this. The master felt that Kashi was golden and was therefore afraid to make it dirty. You know that? You would not go to toilet in this city. Take me outside. Thakur's everything is 200%. All luminous things, without exception, are in the eyes of the Hindus pure, made of sattva guna. All things derive their manifestation from light, which is therefore pure in our eyes. We can understand this from the Shastra, which prescribe the placing of the Jyoti Pradipa, the sacrificial lamp near the deities, and forbid the putting out of lights before them. Important, eh? Practical man will make everything off in the night. So-called practical. And so on. It is perhaps owing to this principle that we have been enjoined to look upon bright things like gold, etc., as pure and forbidden to wear gold instruments, gold ornaments about the lower part of the person. You know this, no? In this what you call rings in the fingers of the feet are never golden. Seeing that Varanasi was golden, the boy like master, so suddenly becomes boy like. Was at first worried to think that the gold will be soiled if you were to answer nature's call there. We heard from the master himself that Mathur arranged a palanquin to take the master across the small stream, Asi, to answer calls of nature beyond it. This you must understand, huh? This Asi. What is the other name of Kashi? Varanasi. What is the meaning? Ganges, you take like this. Ganges is going in one direction. At one place, Varana river is meeting it. Other place, Asi river is meeting it. So the area between Varana and Asi is the holy Kashi. So if you come out of Asi, then it is not Kashi. And here so many things I am seeing. Because of this vision, he is not doing that. But he is not obstructing other people from doing that. That is a personal thing. He is not forcing on others. When afterward that mood of his came to an end, he had not to do anymore. So that bhava had become strong, so he was doing like that. Later on, he was also not doing like that. Unique thing, master's things are unique, only spiritual. The master's vision at Manikarnika that jivas are liberated as soon as they die in Kashi. We were told by the master of another special vision of his in Kashi. Many people take a trip on the Ganga by boat to see the 5 holy places. What are the 5 holy places? No footnote here. Let us imagine Vishwanath, Varanasi, Manikarnika. Then there is perhaps a Kalabhairav and a Ganpati Mandir. You have to find it out, huh? By boat to see the 5 holy places. That means they should all be available near the Ganges. Manikarnika and the others, accompanied by the master. Mathur took a similar trip. The main burning heart of Kashi is situated near Manikarnika. Manikarnika, Parvati's earrings were lost and Shiva is searching. That is a story. When Mathur's boat came to the Manikarnika Ghat, it was seen to be full of smoke rising from funeral pyres. Dead bodies were being burned there. As soon as he happened to cast his eyes in that direction, the master, the embodiment of spiritual emotions, was completely beside himself with joy, and the hairs of his body stood on end. He walked quickly out of the covered portion of the boat, stood on the very verge of it, and entered into Samadhi. The guides of Mathur, the boatman, and others of the crew ran to catch hold of Thakur, lest he should fall down into the river and be carried away by the current. But that was not necessary, for he was seen to be standing calm and quiet, absolutely motionless, and a wonderful light and smile illumined his face and made that place pure and effulgent as it were. Hriday and Mathur stood carefully beside the master. The crew stood at a distance and viewed that strange mood of the master with an astonished eye. When some time afterwards the divine mood of the master came to an end, all got down into Manikarnika, bathed, made gifts, and performed other ceremonies that were to be performed there before they went elsewhere by boat. The Shashwamedh Ghat is one. The master then described his wonderful vision to Mathura and others. He said, I saw a tall white person with tawny matted hair walking with solemn steps to each pyre in the burning ghat, raising carefully every jiva and imparting into his ear the mantra of Supreme Brahman. Taraka Brahma it is called. On the other side of the pyre, the all-powerful Mahakali was untying all the knots of bondage, gross, subtle and causal of the jiva, produced by past impressions, and sending him to the indivisible sphere by opening with her own hands the door to liberation. He physically saw. Thus did Vishwanatha, the divine Lord of the universe, endow him in an instant with the infinite bliss of experiencing non-duality, which ordinarily results from the practice of yoga and austerity for many cycles. Thus did he fulfill the perfection of the jiva's life. So you need not do any tapasya. You don't do anything. If you die in Kashi and are burnt at Manikarnika, it is Shiva and Kali's business to liberate you. And this is believed by thousands of Hindus. And they go there to die. But some unlucky ones don't get death there. One person went there from Calcutta in old age. And he was there waiting for death. News came that his son is ill in Calcutta. Seriously ill. So he came to see the son. Son got recovered, the father died in Calcutta. So it is a great tapasya which results into this. The Pandits, well versed in the scriptures, who were with Mathur, heard of the aforesaid vision and said to the master, it is written in general in the Kashi Kanda. Kashi Kanda of, there is a Skanda Puran. In this Kanda, that Kanda is there. That if a jiva died here, the Lord of the universe granted him nirvana, the state of infinite bliss. But it is not written in detail how he granted it. From your vision, it is clear now how it is accomplished. Your visions and experiences have gone beyond even what is recorded in the scriptures. The master saw Trilinga Swami. Another important thing. While he was staying in Kashi, The master went to pay visits to the famous holy men there. What is this Trailanga Swami? That is not his name. He went from your place, Telangana. He was much pleased to see Trailanga Swami, who was one of them. He spoke many things about the Swami occasionally. This is an important thing when you go to any place of pilgrimage, you should meet the high souls there. He said, I saw that the universal Lord himself was using his body as a vehicle. The man is gone. God is living in that body for his manifestation. Kashi was illumined by his stay there. He was in an exalted state of knowledge. There was no body consciousness in him. Sand there became so hot in the sun that no one could set foot on it, but he lay comfortably on it because no body consciousness. I cooked rice porridge, took it with me to him and fed him with it. So God is feeding God. Huh? He did not speak then, as he had taken a vow to remain silent. I asked him by sign whether God was one or more. In reply, he hinted that when one was in samadhi, one knew him as one. Otherwise, as long as there was the knowledge of diversity, such as I, you, the Jiva, the universe, etc., he was many. Pointing at him, I said to Ridu, this is what is called the true state of a Paramahansa. There was another famous person there, Bhaskarananda. Thakur did not visit him. Mother had gone, Swami Vivekananda had gone. And with Swami Vivekananda, they had a peculiar discussion that nobody can be free from sex. And Swamiji is telling, I have seen Thakur. Anyway, the master was in Bhav Samadhi to see the image of, from Kashi we are going to Vrindavan now. Acha. He will come back from Vrindavan to Kashi again, and then some more things will be told. So now let us go to Vrindavan. The master was in Bhav Samadhi to see the image of Baka Bihari and pastures in Vrindavan. What is Baka Bihari? Krishna's posture is such that is bent in three places. So it's called Baka. Bihari means one who is sporty. So that is the name Baka Bihari. And pastures in Vrindavan. Pastures means where cows graze. So in two places he had special experiences. After a short stay in Kashi, the master went to Vrindavan with Mathur Babu. He, it is said, was in a wonderful Bhav Samadhi to see the image of Baki Bihari. He lost himself and ran to embrace him. When he saw cowherd boys returning from pastures and crossing the Yamuna with herds of cattle at sunset. So this side of Yamuna, that side of Yamuna. So they cross Yamuna and come back. He became filled with spiritual emotion, inasmuch as among them he had the vision of the cowherd Krishna. So incarnations have never gone back. Incarnations are always there. Dark blue, like a newly formed cloud, and bedecked with the feathers of a peacock tail on his head. The master visited Nidhuvan, Govardhan, and a few other places of Raja. What is Nidhuvan? People wrongly or rightly call it Madhuvanas. There is a park-like place where Krishna and Radha and other gopis also used to do Ras Leela. You have not seen Vrindavan. No? Now the monkeys are so many there that everybody is advised to keep things safe. Specs they steal. So you have to take out specs and keep in your pocket or somewhere. There are bushes, thorny bushes, and a place where Radha used to stay, Krishna, that temples are there. That is Nidhuvan. Govardhan is the hill, famous hill, which Krishna had lifted on his fingers. And a few other places of Vraja. What is Vraja? Vraja is again that pastures. Vraja means walk. So Vraja is a large area, Vrindavan, Mathura, and Radharani's Barsana, Gokul. There are different towns, all on Vraja. And few other places of Vraja. He liked these places more than Vrindavan. Having various visions of Sri Krishna and Sri Radha, the supreme lady of Vraja, he felt intense divine love in those places. Mathur, it is said, sent him by palanquin to go and see places such as Govardhan. On one side of the palanquin, he spread a piece of cloth on which he piled in stacks rupees, half rupees, quarter rupees, 2 pieces, etc. In those days, all these was valuable. So that the master might give them away to the poor and to the places of worship. That is one problem in Vrindavan. You will find rows of beggars sitting. I know a person, Indian, returned from America. When he first visited there, he did not have change. He felt so sorry. So went to some bank, got a lot of change, and again went there to give some. So that is a sight. And one gives pranami in the temple also. But the master became so much filled with spiritual love and affection while he was going to those places that he could not take them in his hand to give them away. Having no alternative left, he pulled one end of the piece of cloth and scattered them among the poor people of those places. The master's intense love for Vraja, because he was Krishna himself. In those places of Vraja, the master saw many world-renouncing sadhakas sitting within kupas. What is kupa? Footnote telling us. Small room made of bamboo and straw, fit for one man to live in, is here called a kupa. It looks like a plantain flower cut across in the middle and placed on the ground with its tapering part up, that is conic in shape. And one side the door is open. The master saw many world-renouncing sadhakas sitting within kupas with their backs to the doors and immersed in Japan, so they do not see that side. They sit back to that doors, open doors, and immersed in Japan meditation by withdrawing their eyes from outward things. The master's mind was much attracted by the natural and other beauties of Praja. Other means made by people. Natural means already existing. Adorned with fruits and flowers, the small hillock with Govardhan, deer and peacocks, free from fear, roaming everywhere in the forest. The holy men engaged in austerity and spending their days in incessant thought of God. And the inhabitants of Raja, whose behavior was simple, sincere, and respectful. Today also you'll find that their people are really so simple, so simple. A speciality of that place, very speciality. Whose behavior was simple, sincere, and respectful. Besides, at Neduval, the master was much charmed to see Ganga Mata, a perfected lover of God, an aged lady of great austerity. He enjoyed her company so much that he thought he would not leave Raja and go anywhere else but spend the rest of his life there. About the details in Ganga Mata, we'll read tomorrow. So, let me make an announcement. Today is Sri Ramakrishna Jayanti, the holiest day of the year. So, we will have holiday for this class. But I will have a special lecture at 6 o'clock tomorrow. I think all of you already got these notices. So 6 p.m. tomorrow, and the topic is Sri Ramakrishna's divinity through Naren's eyes. So tomorrow 6 p.m. No class at 7 p.m. Om Sarvadharma Sthapakastam Sarvadharma Swarupakaha Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.